Hey, recording this video after close trade Friday, 11th of May 2012, exciting 24 hours. Bit of a reversal day today. We kind of held initially this morning, rocketed up, and then rocketed down at the end of the day. It was about almost 18 points of range during the day, which is a good kind of trading day. 1.4 million contracts traded. Now the daily chart shows that we've got cyclical support kind of come in. The question is this going to hold? Have we done enough damage on the downside? I'm always looking for those trend moves in the lower time frames compared to that. So, just like we had the pullback to end of trend sequence on the 45-minute chart, the lower time frame compared to a daily chart, still looking for that pullback to end of trend sequence on the 45-minute chart to mark this low. We've had exhaustion, selling, bullish divergence, flush patterns kind of come in. We just need that kind of price kind of confirmation to put in that end of trend. But we're sitting right at this 1340 type level, and I'm just wondering if we're going to drop through it. On the longer term tip frame charts, we've not seen a similar kind of sell-off pattern here, so I'll get to that in a second. In terms of trend line, we are below the trend line now, below the congestion zone, kind of breaking into a trend line. We've been playing with this for the last 4 days. We spiked below it, we closed back into congestion zones, and we closed outside it, inside it. Now we're closed outside it. So this is absolutely critical level, and we don't need very much bad news to kind of send it in one particular direction. The trend oscillators have turned. We've got the first kind of signal in here. We had that little bullish divergence just before the cyclical turn in the trend systems, but you often get kind of clusters of buying signals, and these can be early when they're trading kind of against the trend. You'll get a series kind of signals before the trend actually turns. The best signals in the last kind of couple of months have been the sell signals. Kind of selling here and so on. So selling there. So I wonder if we're in a downtrend and that's going to be just a signal that's way too early. In terms of risk on, risk off charts, I'll just show you a couple. Euro chart here. So we broke through 130, incredibly important psychological level here. We kind of run out of steam. We had our exhaustion buying. It was almost like a short covering rally here, flush pattern and so on. We're coming back down to where the professionals stepped in last time. But on the weekly chart, we're in a downtrend, pullback to end of trend. We've still got to make some an end of trend move on the downside. And last time in, this was all Rambo patterns kind of leading the charge here. We need to see the professionals kind of coming back in as they did in here, as they took profits up here. So we've not seen anything like that. I don't think we've seen. We've got to see some fireworks basically on the Euro chart before it kind of holds. So I think that's heading down. Aussie, I mean I'm only talking about the Aussie because personal interest, but it's a fairly liquid market. It's a well traded market, but parity with the US dollar is an absolute key number, and we've kind of gone through that this week. On the daily chart, you can see here we've had exhaustion selling on the downside. This was exhaustion selling kind of getting the move going. We broke below support, and so we made a little kind of resistance to support kind of move down. Another exhaustion selling signal was sitting right on this support line on the daily chart at $1. And we've got to see bullish divergence before turning this around. So I think this is going to drop next week. I think next week is going to be really interesting. On the weekly chart, you can see we've made pullback to end of trend. We overshot it, but then we made bearish divergence and we kind of came back down. So this week was a lot of selling coming through that support level. That's almost falling through the ice type pattern there. So and Apple, I was talking about Apple a couple of weeks ago, just saying where Apple goes is where the market goes in a way, and you can see that Apple topped out in the 600s, turned after a flush signal, and we had a lot of selling here. That was kind of getting on board the move, and then the professionals kind of came in and tried to pick it up here, desperately trying to hold this thing at 550. Pullback to end of trend. We've made our bullish divergence here. Yesterday's activity was a little amateur kind of down bar, and I was thinking, well, that's a really kind of key level. So the high on that's 575. So if we get above that Monday, Tuesday, then we might have another push back up, and that daily support level will hold. But we're desperately close to this. We don't need very much to kind of push it over and get into a really strong move. We didn't see. I was thinking we might see one of those 3% kind of down move days. we might be setting up for one next week, so I'm kind of curious to see how that all works out. But this is why on the 40,500 tip bar chart, so I'm saying this is a similar chart to the 45-minute chart. I like it because it's got the day and night session kind of in, so it gives you a more kind of rounded, complete picture of the market. And you can see we topped out up here with the flush patterns, pull back to end of trend up at the 1410, 14 teens up here, and we've come down. We've made pullback to end of trend, but we've not seen exhaustion selling on the downside. Now, normally, on the downside we do see exhaustion patterns. Sometimes when we're making tops we won't see exhaustion patterns. We tend to see kind of more no demand patterns and a lack of volume taking us forward. But on bottoms we almost always see a flush out of the volume, a selling climax, and we've not seen that yet on the 40,500 tip bar chart here. So there's nothing like that down here. And the last couple of moves were, Thursday into Friday we had first bearish divergence. After this, when we tried to kick up and we just ran out of steam, they couldn't push it any further. At the same level we had very, very weak buying. Bearish divergence kind of comes in, and then this is the move today. We kind of held, raced back up to the top of that range and then came back down with quite a lot of steam kind of moving in that direction. So I think we're going to break through it on next week, so I'm excited. I kind of like those moves. Anyway, in terms of today's trade I had a nice day. Thursday I had a rotten day. I couldn't get the trend direction right. It was kind of a choppy day and I ended up kind of down 3 points, but today was a good day. The beginning of the day was marked by pullback to end of trend. All these blue professional bars coming into that low, blue professional bars as it takes off to the upside. So there was a good chance that that low was in on the 45 tip bar chart. But we'd had exhaustion selling first bullish divergence on the 1500 tip bar chart at the open, and I'm always a little bit wary of these just before the open. I'm usually looking for them after the open, so I didn't jump in at the get-go. I waited for that little pullback, and that pullback on the 500 tip bar chart was kind of amateur down bars here, a flush pattern here, so I got long 48.50. And this thing just took off. So that was a nice little trade to kind of get going, but it kind of just kept on going. So there was 4 points there. Then I got in on the retrace, 50 initially at 53.25, but then got shook out. And there was a little bit of I think it was here. There was all this confusion at this point here with amateur up bars, a whole bunch of amateur bars kind of happening here. And that could have been just a test back up where it rolls over and goes the other way, but we had not seen exhaustion buying to mirror the exhaustion selling. So this thing was going to keep going until we saw that exhaustion buying to mirror that. So I was a little bit confused there. I jumped out of a long trade with a quarter-point loss, but then jumped straight back in at 54.75 and then took out 3 points. So I was done after 3 trades for six and 3/4 points. So I was very happy with that. But I did notice this thing, as this thing was going, and I noted it during the videos that I'll tag on, this was not over until we saw that exhaustion buying, and there we go. It was up in the 60s where we saw that exhaustion buying kind of come in, pull back to end of trend, then it makes the bearish divergence pattern, double top, and then bang, just takes off to the downside. So just for these trend changes, looking for these exhaustion patterns and first bullish or bearish divergence patterns, really critical for kind of trend changes. So there we go, and that happened before 11 o'clock, which is kind of the window to get a reversal kind of day like that. So there we go. Hope you traded well, hope you're enjoying your weekend, and I'll tag on those couple of day trades. Long 48.50, long 48.50, just checking my stops and targets, and no, I think it was just an amateur up bar. It was me. I've had pullback to end of trend. We've not had exhaustion selling on the downside on this time frame, but we've raced away from this bullish divergence, a little bit of a pullback into a flush pattern, and no blue professional bars kind of taking profits at the highs. So maybe this was just a little retrace, and then we'll get through 49s and then kind of come down again. So wait and see. Just long 48.50. Okay, a couple of minutes later, kind of rushed away into 49.5. Kind of rainbow patterns, amateur up bars kind of here, but it's continued to rally a bit. Okay, blue professional bar underneath resistance, breaking to the highs. This could be jumping the creek. Okay, here we go, up at 50s, blue professional bars. Looks like we want to crack through here. Go for a bit of a run. So maybe a pullback to end of trend that syncs up with the resistance here on 4500. briefly got there. Here we go. Target's 52.50. I don't know, I don't think we've done enough damage on the downside, but certainly kind of rallying at the moment. Here we go, here we go. So let's get a little bit parabolic and get taken out. 52.50 please. So here we go, exhaustion 500, 10,000 on better momentum on the 1500 tip bar charts, 51, no blue professional bars yet. Come on, let's come back. As high as I think it's about 53.75, so 52.50 sitting just underneath that, so quite happy with that. Okay, still hanging out, just had a bearish signal right on the zero line here, but yeah, no blue professional bars at the highs here, so just got to make a little bit of a, here we go, 51.5. Let's go for a 51.75. Come on, come on. 52. Excellent. Just taken out 52.50. 4. Excellent. And blue professional bar here on 500, none yet on 15. It's a big reading though, 10,000 on better momentum. Quite happy with that. So not going to do any more, I don't think, but I'm just going to watch it for a while just because I'm interested. Just think it's got to go to the downside because we've had all these, you know, the 4500 tip bar chart, all these exhaustion buying signals, but not exhaustion selling. So this is just a rally back up in order to kind of crack back down. Who knows? So yeah, Rambo patterns up here. So let's wait and see what happens. One shot, one kill though. Excellent. 8:51 AM. Could have been a better entry because, you know, kind of down here we had all this support kind of coming in, and it was right at that end of trend on the 45 and bullish divergence here. But I just waited for the pullback here to get in. So anyway, there we go. 53.25, long 53.25, and we just raced away up to 56 almost. Unbelievable. But pullback in an uptrend coming up on 1500 tip bar chart. We've overshot the support level on 500 tip bar chart, but Rambo pans into this amateur down bars here, so just hoping for a little kind of test back up. I think we need kind of exhaustion buying on the 1500 to end this thing, so let's see. Might get lucky, might go through 56 again. So we're going 54, okay. Let's see. See where this goes. It's out 53 even. Out 53 even. I didn't like the look of that. Pullback's just gone off. It's kind of amateur down bar, but this is all amateur up bars. Just wondering if we're going to have a reversal now, so let's just wait and see. 54.75. Long 54.75, and Rambo pattern, that was just me, stupid, but just dumped out here just as the thing kind of reversed. Blue professional bars kind of came in and went the highs. We've still not seen exhaustion buying on the 1500 tip bar chart. We've seen all these flush signals here, people trying to get short, and so that means there've got to be a bunch of stops kind of sitting up here, that when we run those we'll get finally an explosive move up to finally get that pattern. So that's what I'm hoping. Otherwise I'll have to reverse and kind of get short if it goes through 53s or something like that anyway. So let's see, just long 54.75. So there we go, we just ran a whole bunch of stops, came up to 57s, my target's at 58.75, which seems a mile away, but who knows, might get lucky. I want to see blue professional bars on the way up and a really big reading on better momentum. Okay, just moving my target to 57.75, and the reason for doing that, we just had a trend go off on the 1500 tip bar chart. So just maybe we'll get a final light poke through there just with a blue professional bar at the highs, and that'll be enough for me. But still not seeing that real exhaustion buying signal on the 1500. just out, 57.75. Excellent. So for another 3. So what's that? 675 after 3 trades. And there we go, blue professional bar kind of comes in, blue professional bar's on 500. Still not like a super big reading on better momentum, which is kind of interesting. So, gonna leave it there, but I wonder if this is a setup for reversal. We'll have to wait and see.